Hi, Aarushi.
Hi, Rakshita. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. So, Rakshita, tell me, what are we going to do today?
Well, today is one of my favorite topics. We're going to talk about something called small talk. It's something that comes up so often in our lives, and we very rarely talk about it when it comes to spoken English. Would you want to help us with a little bit more about what exactly is small talk?
Absolutely. So, according to the Cambridge Dictionary, and this is a suggestion for everybody who's learning English and who wants to understand simple meanings, Cambridge Dictionary is one of the most finest dictionaries available online, which you can refer to when you're learning new words and vocabulary. So, going back to our topic, coming back to our topic, small talk is a conversation about things that are not important, often between people who do not know each other well. So it's a conversation between one first, not it's not important, like it doesn't have an actual meaning or a purpose. And second is that it's between people who do not know each other well. So it won't exist between friends, but it's between strangers, but you don't want them to be a stranger. You know, it's like that.
Wow, that's actually one of the most fun definitions I've ever come across. But that actually brings to mind I've made small talk with so many people. And
Right.
especially, in English, because you go to all these places like in malls and banks where you have to make small talk because you've got to start a conversation that way. And then, sometimes you're at a loss of words because we never make small talk in English normally.
Right. Right. And
And
go ahead.
I think small talk for me. Like I would go to hang out with my friends, especially in college, or I'll go to my friend's house, and some of them don't actually speak Hindi or my native language, so I'm forced to make small talk in English. And more often than not, I'm just looking at them, and they're looking at me. Both of
Yeah.
us trying to figure out what
Yeah.
we could possibly say to make this less awkward.
Absolutely. Like, and small talk is a challenge for most people, but especially when English is your second language, as you just mentioned, right? For a lot of us, English is our second language, and it's perfectly normal to feel shy at the beginning. It's fine. So don't worry. By learning a few simple techniques, you'll able to do small talk in English, and you'll be able to make a good impression. We have a few people who have joined us in our live. Hello, Arundhati. Hello, Pradeep. Thank you so much for joining. Good evening to you too. Yeah, go ahead.
It's always so happy to see Pradeep. Once Pradeep is here, we feel like we're actually doing a live because he's always one of the first people who turn up. So, hey, Pradeep, shout out to you. So, today we are actually going to look at some tips so that we can get better at small talk. You see, more often than not, these things that are impromptu, like that happen at at any instance, you feel like you
Mhm.
can't actually prepare for them, right? But turns out practicing and actually revising what you can say and what you can possibly think of, and not leaving it to the last moment, which I
Mhm.
often tend to do,
Yeah.
can be an option, and you can prepare for all of these conversations. So today we're going to help you with that.
Yes. And it truly helps when you're feeling underconfident or when you're feeling nervous, which is also completely normal to feel. Small talk comes to support you. Like it's there to support you, right? So that. So what topics are we going to cover today, Rakshita? Like
So
topics.
basically, we are going to talk about how to start small talk.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Because when it comes to bringing up topics out of the blue, out of thin air, it gets really difficult. So there are certain topics that you can always rely on. So we're going to cover those topics. We're also
Yeah.
going to talk a little bit about how can you possibly end small talk. Because once
Okay.
you end it, how do you end it?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna conclude it with a very important section, which is going to be a couple of tips when it comes to grammar. Because
Yes.
you don't want to be grammatically incorrect after practicing so much.
Correct, correct. Also, everybody who's watching us, you can join us. You can join our meeting. You can join us on our, in our live. And how do you do that? Is you message us on our Clapingo Instagram, you DM us. So please do that. Go ahead. So
And,
yeah, these are the. Mhm, go ahead. Yeah.
and we would love to have you, just adding on to ours.
Yes, yes, we would love to. So these three topics, subtopics, sound super interesting. And why are we going to do that? So What else are we going to do there? You're on mute.
I'm so sorry.
Everybody
No,
watching us, you can join us. So there's one thing that will help you get better at small talk in English, and that's practice and proper preparation. Is that correct? Am I correct? I think so.
yes, definitely. And I personally am a huge fan of practicing, but especially when it comes to communication English, communicating better, practicing can go a long way. So we're gonna give you a few tips that that you can always hold on to, that would never let you down.
Absolutely. So how to start a small talk in English, if you're struggling with small talk, is that you have to plan ahead. Okay. Don't beat yourself up if the conversation doesn't go as expected at first. I know from experience that practice will help you get better at small talk and English conversations in general. One technique that has helped me with small talk is learning and practicing expressions and dialogues in advance. So you look at the mirror and you practice how you are speaking and what you look like when you're speaking. Okay. It helps to have a bunch of go-to conversation prompts in your back pocket. Right? So if you don't know where to start, here are some ideas to help you start a conversation easily. So first step is talk about the place you are in. Whether you're at a hotel, restaurant, or an event, commenting about the place you are in is a great way to strike up a conversation. So let's say you're staying at a hotel and on your way to your room, you bump into other person or other people in the elevator. You could say, beautiful hotel, isn't it? A simple remark like this one will make you sound friendly and hopefully get the conversation started. Here are some other examples. I can't believe how gorgeous this place is. Is this your first name, Rakshita? Rakshita, is that your first name or is it your last name? What is it? And, and if you want to follow up, you can try asking about some of the facilities of the hotel or the restaurant, right? Have you been to the swimming pool yet? I heard they have a spa upstairs. Did you know that this hotel has a parlor built inside? Wow. So like conversation starters like these.
Wow. I mean, that would actually make you sound like a true conversationalist, don't you think? Like somebody who's fluent and confident. Wow.
Yeah.
So the second tip that we can have is you can comment on the current situations or surroundings. One of the most common comments that you would find these days would be about COVID, because that's an ongoing thing for the last 2 years. And situations in general, like how, like let's say you're at the airport, you're sitting beside someone and they have been conversing with someone else in English this whole time. They turn to you. You can start a conversation. You can say, oh my god, the flight is so late, don't you think? I love this particular coffee. Where did you get it from? So basically anything and everything that is surrounding you is a good thing to talk about and a good thing to get going from. So the thing about small talk is both of you are in the same situation at the same place. So your surroundings would be common and most of the times your situations would be common. So those are good things that you can pick up on and then start a conversation about, because both of you guys would have something to add.
Correct. It's always great to have a common ground, right? It's always great to have something common to talk about. We have a question in the comment section, please. It's by Arundhati. She's asking us, what is small talk? Rakshita, do you want to take it up?
Yes, that's a brilliant question, Arundhati. So the thing is, when we meet new people, when we meet people in general, you have small conversations with them, hey, Aarushi, how was your day? What have you been up to? Things like that. Things that don't have any consequence. That conversation is not leading to anything. It doesn't have a particular purpose, but it's just you're making it as friendly banter. You're just talking for the sake of it. You're sitting together to reduce the awkwardness also sometimes. Did that answer your question?
We hope it did, Arundhati. Thank you for asking. If you guys have any doubt, please feel free to comment. Also, please do like, subscribe, share. Right? Yes. Thank you. Yeah. So, Rakshita, yeah, you're right about the tip. So I have another small tip. Okay. You can talk about yourself and your life. One of the easiest things to do is to talk about yourself in your life because you know most about yourself, right? So Asking about work is a great way to break the ice. Let's say your friend invites you to a cocktail event or a general like a party or an event, and there are a lot of people you don't know. So why not take the lead and ask questions like these? So, what do you do? What do you do for a living? Where do you work? Are you working on any exciting projects? Or maybe you're sharing a meal with some new co-workers and you want to make sure awkward silences are kept to a minimum. You can try these options instead. How long have you worked in finance? How was your first week at work? Okay, so I get it. You might not work in finance, but you can always apply these sort of questions to your professional life. So, how was your first week at work? Was it a busy week for you? Are you looking forward to the weekend? Work related questions are great conversation starters, especially if you don't know about the other person. The tone is neutral and polite, but it still shows you're engaged in the chat. So you're talking again, like that's what Rakshita said, that you're talking about something similar. So you already are starting, like you're successfully starting. You're setting yourself up for success when you start with common things that you have in common there. Yeah. So yeah, so this was my tip. How
That
do
was
you
a
like it?
that was a brilliant tip, Aarushi. I can see myself using it in the future, I have to say. Another tip that we have for you today is, this is actually my personal favorite. It's asking for recommendations, like
Oh,
movies,
absolutely.
shows, or books. Anywhere I go. And I personally love collecting this kind of data from people because it tells you so much about a person without telling you, any of the details. Like
Mhm.
my favorite shows and movies can tell you so much about me. And it's a good, like you're gaining a lot of knowledge and perspective,
Yeah.
right? So you can ask them fun questions like, have you watched any good shows lately? That
Mhm.
movie was so funny. What did you think of it? Right? Have you read anything recently? Do you have any recommendations? Or some things which are like more generic, like did you watch the game last night? If there was a huge game that was going on, right? You can always talk about that. Or let's say Olympics, whenever the Olympics time comes around, that's a very, very good conversation starter. Did you see what games are you personally into, right? So such things would never be out of date per se, because
Mhm.
people are always watching something new, so you can never exhaust that particular topic.
Correct. And when you, so of course, for small talk, you need to do some basic research if you want to talk about movies, shows, and books. But when you do that, you will also expose yourself to English and English, good content, good English material, effective English material. So at the end of the day, it just helps you improve your language. So, and which is what we want to do when we're learning any language for that matter, right?
Certainly.
Okay, just a reminder, please, if you want to join our live, please comment, please DM on Clapingo's Instagram ID. We are waiting for you. Okay, cool. Raksha, that was an amazing tip, truly. So I have another tip, all right. But this is related uh to how you can make the other person happy that you're talking to immediately, okay? Which is to give a compliment. Right? Isn't it lovely to see the smile on people's face when they get complimented? It's also a great way to strike up a conversation, right? So for example, it's a cool jacket. Where did you get it? I love your shoes, by the way. Where did you buy them from? And if you're receiving a compliment, you could say, "Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. That's so kind of you." So, like for example, if I want to strike a conversation with Rakshita, I'll say, "Oh my God, I love your earrings. Where did you buy them from?" So immediately she likes me, I like her, and we start connecting. Right? That is how small talk works. You want to build conversation and rapport. Oh, so how was that? How was that tip, Rakshita?
Loved it. And by the way, so sweet of you to comment on my earrings.
Yes. Thank you. Thank.
All right.
So we
So,
have a question here.
yes, please go ahead.
Akshita, by Pradeep, break the ice means starting conversation. Am I right, ma'am? I'm not sure. Please clarify it.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. Breaking the ice, or an icebreaker also is a term that's used,
Mhm.
basically means to start a conversation. It means to initiate something with another person. Okay. So let's say even saying hi could be breaking the ice in some cases. Very good.
Yes. And we have one more question here. how to respond to the most common conversation beginner sentence. Like, how do you do? Like, how do you respond to that?
It's an excellent question, actually. So, how do you do would have been thrown at you as well a couple of times. One of my favorite responses is, I'm doing great, actually. Thank you for asking. How about you? So, you're letting them know how you're feeling. You're thanking them for being considerate and asking about you. And then you're asking them the same question.
Right. It's always polite to say thank you and then go on and ask them. So, yeah, that's how an entire conversation builds. Right. Great. Also, we have somebody saying hi to us. Hi, Pahadi Bhula. Hello.
It's such an interesting username.
Yeah. So, you're most welcome. Pradeep said thank you, Rakshita. Thank you, Rakshita.
Oh, you're welcome, Pradeep.
Yep. All right. So, these were the tips. Now, Rakshita, take us ahead from here. What else? These were the tips for small talk. What else?
So now comes the most important part. I personally find it to be quite important. It's the grammar aspect of it, right? Because you're communicating, you're having small talk with people on a daily basis. Now, something that happens so repetitively, what happens is even if I'm going wrong somewhere, because I've repeated it so many times, I feel like I'm not going wrong because you get habitual to that mistake. So we're going to talk about a couple of things that you can keep in mind when you are having small talk with a person, because it was certainly be in a certain situation. That's the good thing about it. We know where it's happening and we know in what situation would it ideally be happening. Okay, so the first tip is you will almost always be using the present perfect tense. I know tenses can be a nightmare for somebody
Nightmare, truly.
on their English. It is just, and the concept is definitely, it's vast and it's humongous. You have to take a whole deep dive into it. It's a deep sea ocean. So it is a deep one. But here in this case, we can help you out, certainly with a quick tip, right? So if the thing is, what you have to do is you have to look at the sentence structure, okay? And it's going to look something like this, all right? How long have you lived here? Now, such sentences would require somebody to collect some certain amount of information from their past. Hence, one of the most common mistakes that we make is we frame these sentences in the past tense. But what's happening here is you're asking that question to them right now, right? So it's going to be from the past, but up till the present. Right? So, hence, this sentence is going to be a present perfect. It's the perfect example of present tense. Okay? So, let's say, have you been here before? Have you seen any good movies lately? All of these questions would require me to think about things that I've done in the past, but give you answers in the current present of my current situation. Right? So, all of these are present perfect examples. So, you'll always be using present perfect tense, especially when you're inquiring about things. Let's say I asked Aarushi today, hi Aarushi, how long have you been waiting for this live?
So now I have to sit and think that interesting, because maybe 4 days, maybe 5 days. Now you have forced me to think, and that is how the conversation flows, right? Because it's not as simple as okay, I was excited. It's not as simple as asking, were you excited for it? So then it's like, yeah, I was excited. But when she asks, like, how long have you been excited for the live? I can count, I can tell you. It makes me want to think, it makes me want to talk to you. So yeah. Another example. Sorry to interrupt you, Rakshita. Another example. How long has this restaurant been in your colony? Like, how long has this been in this place? So you, for example, let's say you go to an amusement park, right? And you say, oh, how long has this roller coaster been here? I have never seen this before or not heard of it, right? So yeah, this is what this, it makes you wonder, right? It makes the other person also wonder. Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead. Now we'll come to the second tip. This is slightly technical one. I'm going to tell you about a concept and then I'll let you know how it's actually used. Okay, there is something called tag questions. Okay, now what is a tag question? A tag question is a small question that is attached to the end of a sentence. We use tag questions to ask for confirmation or someone's thoughts and opinions. Okay, because a tag question turns a statement into a question. It's a great way to start a conversation. And trust me, when I first learned about this concept, I was blown away. I was like, this is interesting because we do it all the time in any language you speak. It's just you don't know what it's called grammatically. This is how they sound. The trains here are never on time. This is a statement. But now I'll add a tag question to it. Are they? The trains here are never on time. Are they? Right? Another example would be, it's very windy today, isn't it? It's very windy today. Normal statement. You wouldn't say anything about it, right? But now I'm asking you, it's very windy today, isn't it? Now you'll have to reply to me. Do you have some examples with you, Aarushi?
Yeah. So, I have an example. She's such a great speaker, isn't she? And if the sentence is negative, then the tag will be positive. So, for example, it hasn't been very busy this week, has it? So, if we are talking about something negative, right? So it has something like hasn't or don't or all of these negations, right? So then it becomes positive. So it hasn't been very busy this week. Has it? She wasn't able to complete her assignment, right? Was she? Yeah. Correct.
Very true. So you just have to keep that in mind. And trust me, we do it all the time without knowing what they are. So, but these are great for conversations. You see, when you arbitrarily throw a sentence at someone, they can't really reply to you because there's no room for replying, right? A question tag would allow that person to basically revert back to whatever you're saying, or let's say have a small, a comment about it maybe, right? So you can always stick around to these question tags.
Rakshita, I'm sorry to interrupt you. We have a few questions here that we can answer. So, first question is how to remember idioms while talking. Arundhati is asking. I know many, but during conversations, I don't use.
That's a very good question, Arundhati. And what I personally do is whenever I'm learning about new idioms, or this is how I usually practice my idioms, I try and use it in situations that often occur in my daily routine. So let's say I usually talk to my friends, my college friends, or let's say my friends at my workplace. And those conversations are a certain kind of conversations that inquire about a certain kind of things. So I know the kind of idioms that could possibly be used there. Let's say I could have never imagined that hell broke when she actually entered the meeting late. Now, this is a phrase that I could have used here because I knew something could have gone wrong at my workplace, because there's always a possibility of things going wrong, right? So you can always also keep this in mind. Have a couple of positive ones in your pocket, but also have a couple of negative ones, because the situation could be either ways, right? So it could also help you practice it.
Right. Great suggestion, Rakshita. I also have a suggestion. There are certain idioms that you can use in your day-to-day life versus there are idioms that you can use for essay writing, right? So from your comment, I understand that you want to use idioms that you want to use them in daily conversations. So I want you to research. I want you to look it up on the internet, look up the idioms that you think you can use in your daily life. I want you to note them down in your phone or wherever you can. And I want you to look at them every day. Right? As we always say, the more you surround yourself with English, the easier it will be for you to become fluent in it. So if you want to use idioms that in daily life, right, idioms that you are comfortable using, then I want you to note them down and I want you to refer to them every single day. Similarly, vocabulary is learned like that, right? Vocabulary, you can note it down and refer to it every day. Idioms is very similar, right? It's a concept that you want to learn. So there's no point in mugging it up. You have to look at it every single day and eventually you will use them. Give yourself time. Okay. All right. So Rakshita, we have another question.
A couple of more questions. Yeah, I can see there's a lot of activity in the chat box. Okay, Pradeep, your question about how to end small talk is something that we'll be addressing in a couple of minutes as soon as we're done with grammar. There's a question from Girish Singh, which is, could you please throw some light on conversation starters which inadvertently might offend the other person? Wow, so some things that you should never say. That's a good one. Would you want to start this off, Aarushi?
Yes. So Just a second. This is by Girish, right? So Girish, there are some, a few things that we never want to, like, we don't want anybody to tell us that, we don't want anybody to curse us, and we don't want anybody to say bad things about us, right? So these are the things you shouldn't say to others. So when you're starting a conversation, do not start with an insult, do not start with anything negative, right? That is why we emphasized one of the points was starting conversation starter was complimenting that person, because we know, as the person has to feel good, right? That is how you can get them to talk to you. So you shouldn't insult, you shouldn't point out, even if there is something maybe in their outfit or on their face that is not incorrect, but you feel like you should point it out. You shouldn't, because you don't know them, right? So yeah, do not insult, of course, and do not make the person uncomfortable. Do not ask uncomfortable questions. Basically, don't ask the sort of questions that you will not being like asked to you.
Definitely.
So
And adding on to Arushi's point, you can also avoid controversial topics as a
Mhm.
whole, because you never know what the other person's opinion on them might be. Something that you strongly agree to could be something that is, that violates another person's interests. So
Mhm.
if you know that a certain topic could have very, very polar opposite opinions, so
Mhm.
it would be always be convenient to avoid such topics, so you can avoid all sorts of conflicts in general, right?
Yeah.
Some examples of controversial topics always would be political opinions, religious opinions. So definitely would not recommend starting small talk with another person with these topics, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
appearances can be deceptive, and we definitely don't want to step into a conversation, especially in our second language, not knowing how badly we might offend someone. Because for us, it might not sound offensive. We might have seen someone use it somewhere else, but that could have been in a different context. So from our side, we can try and be as careful as possible.
Right. As I said, like, as Rakshita rightly put it, we don't want to start on a bad foot. We really do not, and we can't shouldn't you can't start a small talk. You can't make small talk with a conflict. So yeah,
That's a fight.
yeah, that's a fight. Absolutely. So guys, we once again request you to like, subscribe, share, and we want to remind you to apply for our brand ambassador campaign. New deadline is 10th Feb. So it's in 6 days, guys. 10th Feb is the deadline. Please do apply. We are looking forward. Again, brand ambassador campaign. All right. We have another question. I think we had a question.
Yes, we have a couple of comments also. One of the comments that I would definitely like to highlight is Pradeep has actually used a tag question. He said, it is an incredible live session, isn't it?
Good job,
A
Pradeep.
compliment and a tag question. Wow, that's a brilliant one. Yes, you were reading out a couple of questions for Aarushi.
Yes. This is by Grow with Saksham. So I assume his name is Saksham. What to say when someone responds that he is not fine?
Ah, that's a good one. Well, that's honesty, first of all. So you can always be like, oh, I hope you get well soon.
Hmm.
Oh, would you want to tell me? Maybe telling me about it would make you feel better. That's another thing. Sometimes just talking about things, even when you can't offer solutions, can be a great way for someone to vent out, especially if you're somebody they don't know, because sometimes you can't share some things with people you really know very well. So you can always ask them if they want to have a conversation about it, talk, vent out. And then if they want you to, you can always offer some solutions if you have any, right? But
Mhm.
always it's a positive, polite response from your end would be the ideal way to go if somebody's being that honest with you.
Right. When somebody says that um, he's I am not fine, you can immediately say, okay, I hope you feel fine soon. Do you want to talk about it? But if they don't want to talk about it, let them be. Give them the space. It's completely all right. Again, remember, you're trying to make small talk. So this is maybe the first time you're talking to them. Yeah. So give them space and respect their boundaries.
That's
Right.
a very, very great response, Aarushi, actually. Because, we don't realize maybe that's their way of telling you that they're not interested in a conversation at that moment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have another question by Himanshu Kumar. What's the difference between try to and try and?
It's a very good one. So I will try to do that. That means I'm going to make an attempt to do something. Okay. So try to is going to have that usage. I'll try to be on time tomorrow. Not a very good ideal sentence you should be using, but that means I'm going to make an attempt to do that. I'll try and is a more positive assurance. I'll try and I'll definitely be able to do it by tomorrow. I'll try and get to work on time tomorrow. It's a more promising statement. So try and is slightly more positive, and try to is slightly more, I'm going to make an attempt,
but might not come mostly. So that. Then we have, thank you, Rakshita, good response. We have another question by Himanshu. Can we substitute more than with over?
It depends on the sentence that you are.
I agree. Yeah.
That you're looking at, but yes, in certain places you definitely can. But more often than not, all the examples that are coming to my head right now, I don't see myself replacing more than with over. Let's say I'm using the sentence. I'm using it together right now, so I'm more than over it. I don't want to talk about, let's say, COVID anymore. I'm over it, right? But more than, actually, the meaning wherever we are using more than is basically to talk about the fact that something is in a huge quantity either, or it's more or less wala more than, right? So that means it's more or less stuff. It's more than okay for you to stay at my house today. That means it's okay for you to stay at my house today. I'm trying to emphasize upon something. That's where more than comes, other than its basic usage. So over might not be the best replacement for it.
Exactly. So yeah, true. Yes. So these were all the.
I think we have one more question.
Yeah, it just popped up. Yeah. Go ahead, Rakshita. Read it.
Yeah. It's a user called Flex. The question is, which one is correct despite having said that or having said that? That's a very good one. So despite having said that is basically going to be talking about something that you have already said. And the next thing that's going to be following up might be something that might contradict it. For example, you should always try and make small talk. Despite having said that, if someone is giving you a negative response, try to avoid talking to them. They might not be in a position to talk. Can you see? Both my sentences contradicted each other. So despite would come there. Despite usually comes in positions like this. When a situation before and after are sort of opposite. And having said that is affirmative. So Aarushi and I are having a great time talking to you. Having said that, let's continue to have lives every week. This is a continuation. It's a positive thing, continues to be positive.
Correctly. So despite is a negation, like it's sort of like a negation. Like when you're saying that, it's like, okay, we've done that, but despite that, I don't like this. It's despite. So when you say despite, we know as listeners that, okay, she's going to talk about something that did not go right or she did not like. So even with having that, despite then makes it negative, sort of.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, these were all the questions
we had. We now will quickly talk about how to end small talk. So anyway, the two words that I've been using, trying to conclude the conversation, like the topics that we were discussing, are some of the most common words you can use. Okay. So it'll be something like, anyway, it was really nice talking to you. Catch you later. Right? Yeah. Polite way to end it. So I guess I should be leaving now if you want to make it to the show,
Yeah.
You're getting late from somewhere, so you can always put that into context, right? To end it more politely. Another thing that you could say is, I hope we can talk soon. You're leaving some room for communication in the future. This is a new contact you've made. Maybe you want to keep up that friendship.
Correct. And in situations where you are, let's say, ranting to somebody or like venting and you are confused and like, oh, this happened, that happened. Anyways, let's go on and let's finish the task. Or like, anyways, see you tomorrow. Right? So anyways is also, okay, all of this has happened and I'm frustrated about it. But then anyways, let's go on now. Let's not get distracted. Let's get on track. Let's see you tomorrow. You were late today. I did not like that. Anyways. Let's go on now. See you tomorrow on time. So anyways is also when you want to bring the person they're talking to and yourself back to the point. So a good conversation ender. So now you know the person does not want to go on and on about it anymore. So that. Yep. So I think these were all the tips that we had, Rakshita, today.
Yes, please. I think, we have one final announcement. So you guys would have heard us say mentioned this before. We have a brand ambassador position that is open for Clapingo. You can actually become the face of Clapingo. So you can check this entire venture out on our Instagram page. There are a lot of details and things that you have to do so that you can become eligible for the position. The deadline is 10th of February. So if you are somebody who's interested in that, you can go and check it out now.
Yep. In 6 days, guys. Come on, sign up, register, let us know. Become the face of Clapingo. All right. I think we are good to end now, Rakshita.
Yes. So anyways, it was a great conversation.
Anyways, it was an amazing conversation. Good to talk to you and everybody in our chat box today. Thank you so much for joining us. See you guys, all of you tomorrow. What am I saying? Why am I saying tomorrow? In next week.
Next
the next live. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.